Tennessee is one of the top 3 teams in the SEC. You can bank on it. Brought to you by Commercial Bank. So here is my argument, Caleb. They have to be in the top 3 after seeing Georgia struggle against Kentucky and Alabama now surging. I could make a strong argument that they need to be in the top 2, because my list of contenders that will get each and every week for a national championship will be fluid. And I like what Alabama did. I like the fact that they got healthy on the offensive line. And maybe Georgia's still Georgia. They play down to their opponent, but bank on it. I will actually say this, that Tennessee should be in the top 2. Caleb, defend your rankings after we hear from Commercial Bank.
Commercial Bank is your neighborhood bank. What makes us different from other banks? We understand that every customer has unique opportunities, challenges, and financial concerns. We don't expect you to fit into the same box as the next person or business. Whether it's purchasing a home, saving for your child's future, or planning for your next vacation, we're with you every step of the way to navigate life's big decisions. Commercial Bank. Life made better.
All right, Caleb. So give me your rankings. Are we going to go all the way through before we get to Tennessee, or where are we starting with this?
Yeah, we're going to go all the way through, and I will say for you whether or not I agree with Dave, and you'll notice it once I get to Tennessee, whether or not I agree with him.
Okay, well, that's what they call a tease in the biz, but if they're not in the top 2, I'm going to be highly disappointed. All right, go.
All right, so these are power rankings, and remember, these are based on how you're playing right now and what would Vegas favor based on what you're doing right now. So, number 16, I believed in them. I'm still high on them long term, but they let me down over the weekend. Mississippi State is number 16. Losing to Toledo like that is just ugly, and Jeff Levy's got some problems.
Rebuilding program. I mean, yeah, I expected some of this. That doesn't define him as a coach at all. Next.
Not at all. Number 15, reality hit with Vanderbilt. I did hit with the over on my bet over the weekend with them, but I thought they would win, and they lost to Georgia State on the road. A Jeremy Pruitt type of loss, because he also lost to Georgia State. So Vanderbilt's back down to number 15.
Yep, he did. All right, keep going.
Number 14 is Florida. They are awful. They are terrible. Some people may say Vanderbilt should be ahead of Florida because they beat Virginia Tech, but Dave, come on. If Florida and Vanderbilt played on a neutral field, you'd still probably favor Florida. Vegas would give Florida the edge on the line.
Agreed.
13, down at number 13 is Auburn. That's right. Auburn is number 13. They looked ugly against New Mexico in the first half. They lost to Cal. They're in that bottom tier still with the SEC with those other 4 teams as of right now.
Okay. All right. Who's next?
Number 11 is, despite playing a superb game over the weekend, and they deserve a lot of credit, but I'm not going to overreact to 1 week, is still Kentucky. Yes, they played tough. They still lost 31-6 a week before that. You don't get to jump up in power rankings. You don't get to jump up because of one good weekend.
Yeah, especially I've seen it so many times. You have an embarrassing Saturday, and then you're super motivated in practice the next week, especially with Georgia coming to town. So, yeah, they played above their heads, and Georgia historically plays down to them. So that doesn't make me think too much about either team because based off their history, they were who they were and have been on Saturday.
No, that's very true. Exactly. Totally agree. By the way, someone pointed this out. Florida at Mississippi State this weekend might be the worst SEC game of all time. But all right. So number 10 is South Carolina. They are up to number 10, having beaten Kentucky and also played LSU very close. I got South Carolina at number 10.
Okay. See if they finish that way. Go ahead.
Number 9, and this is going to be on my takeaways, but for the week, but it's LSU. And I have some serious questions about Brian Kelly. I mean, I think his seat should be starting to get hot to warm up.
In all fairness, you and I, we got to eat some crow. We both thought he would be a massive success there.
We did. I thought all LSU needed was a coach with 2 brain cells to rub together, and they would be Dynasty. And,
at the time, if you made me bet when he was hired that he'll win 2 national titles or get fired in disgrace, I would have bet 2 national titles.
I'd have bet 2 national titles easily. And I would have just said, you got 10 years. What do you think he was going to do? I would have said 2 national titles, just straight up.
I think cultural fit is about the dumbest reason to consider a coach, but I think in this particular situation, there's a really bad cultural fit. And when you're hiring a coach, that should be like 80th on your list of criteria. But in this particular case, and the way he came out and tried to talk with that accent and stuff, I think he felt like he wasn't a fit. All right, what do you got next?
Yep. Number 8, I got Texas A&M. Mike Elko had a pretty good win over the weekend. Not a good win, but at least they blew out Florida. So, it was at Florida.
It's my favorite store. I love to pick up some clothes at Belco. Go ahead.
Oh, nice. All right. Now we're to the undefeated teams. The 7 undefeated in the SEC. Number 7, the worst of the undefeateds right now is Oklahoma. I don't think there's any question about that, given how they've looked through 2 weeks and how banged up they are.
No, I agree with that, and that's probably going to drop in the coming weeks as they play, I think, 6 straight ranked SEC teams. By the way, the poll question: the best team in the SEC other than Tennessee is Alabama, Georgia, or Texas. Texas running away with it. Who's next, Caleb?
All right, so number 6. Now we are in the tiers of the teams that think they should be top 5. Missouri's number 6. I know they just beat Boston College, but they beat Boston College by just a touchdown, and I think all the other teams I'm about to name would be favored over Missouri on a neutral field.
Agreed, and we're going to get to my contender status here momentarily, who I believe are true contenders, but we'll do that when we finish poll. What's next?
All right, number 5. Haven't played anybody, but Ole Miss is just blowing people out of the water. And I'm sorry, the question was, can Lane Kiffin get these guys to play together with all these new transfers? Spoiler alert, he's getting them to play together.
Well, I don't know necessarily that he's done it yet. I mean, I want to see when they get hit by some adversity. But I'll tell you this, Jackson Dart is incredibly, and I think I mentioned this last week, is incredibly accurate. That dude, he's not just throwing to wide open people. I mean, Jackson Dart is a legit, he's in the discussion as a legit number 1 NFL draft pick. I will go ahead and tell you right now, he'll grade out far better than Carson Beck. There's no question in my mind. Unless he's got a health issue or he makes somebody mad in the interviews, he's going to go above Carson Beck in the draft. Period. End of discussion. Go.
I totally agree. And now it's time to fade Dave's bank on it, because as of right now, Tennessee's 4th in my SEC power rankings, and I had to put them there. And you can play any of your little hotkeys if you want.
Yeah.
Oh, you didn't even play Peyton? You didn't play Peyton for me?
Well, I'm going to get to it, but so for now,
that's crazy.
Okay.
And it's because, again, I can't hold things against him. I just haven't seen enough, because the teams they've played are bad. I mean, Chattanooga may be the best team they've played, guys, of the 3. I mean, let's be honest.
What did NC State do over the weekend, by the way?
They had to run away to beat. It was another really, really bad team. I think it was like Louisiana Tech by like 10. They
didn't look great. So I think there's still some unknown out there with Tennessee, but based off my eye test, which is fairly accurate, but probably the worst statistic most people could use, I still think Tennessee is one of the top 3 teams in the SEC. All right, who's next, Caleb?
Well, and this is who would Vegas favor on a neutral field. So number 3, I've still got Georgia. They fell from number 1 to number 3. But guys, I know they struggle with Kentucky, but be honest with yourselves. Just be honest. You saw Georgia do this 2 years ago, where they would struggle with opponents they were playing down to on a week-to-week basis. And you still knew they were the best team in the SEC the whole time.
Okay, I can roll with that. Alabama falling. I'm sorry. So who's next? Sorry. Okay.
Yeah, Georgia fell to number 3. I have falling to number 2 right now is Texas, for no other reason than Quinn Ewers got hurt. If not, they'd be number 1. But, you know, even though I think Arch Manning is better, we're going to get to that in a second. But I think for right now, Texas is falling to number 2 just because there could be a quarterback question there, but they're still they look pretty darn good so far.
Yeah, and I think that Texas is, I think we'll get into the Arch Manning debate here in a second, but I think Texas is probably the best team right now in the SEC, and I think that still sounds weird for me to say. And I think that they will probably they would be favored over any team in a neutral site. But you think this team would be favored?
I think as of right now, based on what they did to Wisconsin, Alabama, you got to say is number one. I'm eating some crow. I still say that Jalen Milroe is not a fit for this offense, but you know what? Credit to Kalen DeBoer. He did, and this actually makes me really think Alabama's going to keep rolling with Kalen DeBoer. He has tweaked everything about his system to fit Jalen Milroe. Have you noticed that? And it reminds me of when Urban Meyer went to Florida and Chris Leak was not a fit for the spread offense. And whatever you think of Urban Meyer, he and Dan Mullen, they totally changed up how they ran their spread so it could fit what Chris Leak was trying to do, what Chris Leak's skill set was. And that's what Caleb DeBoer is doing with Jalen Milroe right now.
Best team in the SEC on our poll question. Texas is number 1. Georgia is number 2. Alabama is number 3, but Texas winning in a landslide. That brought to you by Work Trucks. If you don't mind pulling that up, Caleb, because you got to take a look at these trucks. They are absolutely phenomenal. And when it comes to Work Trucks, I got to tell you this, the perfect work vehicle doesn't break down, has all the space to carry what you need. A Work Trucks, they're all about trucks that are actually available. They got them now. Okay, so if you're a contractor, Work Trucks with an X saves you time with less back and forth trips and trucks that pass the highest standards to be put to work. The process is also quick and easy when choosing a vehicle for Work Trucks. Cargo vans, utility body trucks with an app-pod work bodies installed, pickup trucks of all sizes, and anything special like cranes or dump trucks. Work Trucks supplies vehicles to people just like you and get you back on the road. No dealership runaround. If you're a contractor, you need to know Work Trucks, and that's a fact. Service industry, Work Trucks. Work Trucks carries the trucks that your business has to have. You need Work Trucks. Clinton Highway in Knoxville and downtown Birmingham for the entire inventory. Go online to worktrucksllc.com. That's worktrucksllc.com. Why risk chancing your future in business on the wrong piece of equipment that burns your time? Worktrucksllc.com. Work Trucks will also work to make sure you have the perfect work vehicle that you have to have. They'll even find a perfect truck, outfit it, and make sure it fits your needs to a T. Work Trucks with an X, LLC.com, proud supporters of the Tennessee Vols. So I do, when we look at schedule, I think that is a factor, and you have to factor that in. But what offsets that to me, to some extent, because I want to wrap up this discussion about why I think Tennessee should be higher rated than you in your power rankings, is I think the depth of the defensive line in particular is unique. And I think we can judge that even against an okay opponent like North Carolina State. If you remember, those guys may have been, well, they were outmatched physically, but they had a ton of starts. So it's not like they were blowing them up with scheme. They were blowing them up just because they were better football players. So, Caleb, that's why I think with my eyeballs and my eyeballs seeing Nico as well, that I believe they should be in the top 3 or 2.
Tennessee?
Yes, that would be my argument.
I mean, I can't debate you on it. Look, my 4 through 1 right now is totally interchangeable. My only contention is people radically dropping Georgia because they struggle with Kentucky, when everybody who, although your eyeballs tell you that, you know deep down, and everybody in the world knows deep down that Georgia struggling with Kentucky is much ado about nothing. And so I understand if you want to drop them 1 to 3, 1 to 4, but to say that all of a sudden you think anybody thinks Tennessee would be favored over Georgia on a neutral field, that just wouldn't happen, guys. If Tennessee was playing Georgia right now on a neutral field, everybody would favor Georgia.